In March of 2013, my friends and I had an altercation in a strip club called Gossip that's out in Long Island. It previously was owned by the Lucchese family, specifically Neil Migliori. The night of the incident, Rafi Bassamo got cracked in his face, and several of our friends were hurt as well. As a result of this, Joey DiBenedetto and myself was called to a sit-down at the Lucchese Social Club in the Bronx. We were told by Stevie Correa, the underboss at the time, that we were not allowed to retaliate. The story I'm about to relay took place during the 2 weeks after the strip club incident and prior to us being inducted. Actually, it was days before the induction ceremony. Anthony Guzzo had gotten in touch with me and asked me to meet with him. Back then, Anthony had been dealing narcotics with some guy from the Bronx. Supposedly, the owner of the restaurant, Don Coquille, needed a favor. Don Coquille was located in the City Island section of the Bronx. The guy lent out $2 million and was unsuccessful in reclaiming his money. To be honest, at this time, the strip club incident wasn't even on my mind. When I left Anthony that day, I wanted to go do my homework on the owner of this restaurant. I found out that the owner's name was Jimmy Rodriguez, but I also found out that Jimmy Rodriguez had borrowed money in the past. After finding out everything I could, I wasn't happy with this information because a person who borrows money is rarely lending out $2 million. So for me, it was a red flag. But I knew this information would come in handy when we did speak to this guy. On the day we were going to the Bronx, Anthony and I met at his cousin's house in Belmore, Long Island. As I was driving, I was starting to go over this whole thing in my head. Something wasn't sitting right with me. Something was off. And then it hit me. I called Anthony, who was in the car in front of me, and I asked him one question. And he had told me that the guy he was dealing with was a good guy that was around people in the Bronx, which means he was an associate to one of the Bronx crews. I shook my head. I told Anthony, pull the car over. I need to talk to you. Earlier, I mentioned when Anthony first discussed his opportunity with me, the strip club incident was the last thing on my mind. But at this moment, it was the only thing on my mind. Why would a guy who's around people get the opportunity to make money and not bring that opportunity to those people? I asked him if it made any sense to him. He said, now that I think of it, it doesn't make any sense. Then I reminded him that just 2 weeks earlier, we were involved in an incident where a Genovese captain got cracked in his face. So I reminded Anthony that the Genovese family had all our names on a list. Then I told Anthony the most important piece of this puzzle. For those of you not familiar with City Island, there is one way on and one way off that island. I told him, if you still want to go, I'll go under one condition. We go get pistols. He kept shaking his head and saying, I can't believe I didn't see this. This definitely had him spooked. Before we went our separate ways that day, he turned to me and said something. I just smiled, got in my car and left. But what I wanted to tell him was, did I think that this is exactly what was involved? Absolutely. None of the above happened because Anthony never got caught.